Hey, man.
What's up?
Oh, have you ever heard of Nellie Bly?
That's his last name?
No, I don't think so. This is
Nellie Bly? I would also
Nellie.
just go by Nellie if my last name was Bly.
Well, you might know her as Elizabeth Cochran Seaman or Elizabeth Jane Cochran. Both are names that she had throughout her
Both
life.
those names sound like she survived the Titanic sinking. I don't know who we're talking about.
Actually, very close. Same. When did the Titanic sink?
1912.
Do you just have that memorized?
I was there.
What day of the week
It was a
that?
Wednesday.
Really? Mm-hmm. Let's see. April 15th, 1912. Huh, yeah, you're right. April 15th, 1912. Day of the week. Monday.
Well,
It was before the Great Time Change.
I was frozen, right? So,
Yikes, okay.
and we all know that I'm going to screenshot it with no context, eating nothing but the meat from the sharks that she kills.
Her head's just like 90% forehead.
And then get naked and paint yourself green. Mine's got a lot more worse stuff in it though, because you're a bad person.
Things I learned last night.
Nellie Bly. We'll call her by her name.
How did we go?
Call her by her
How did
real
we go
name.
from Elizabeth
Cochran?
Jane?
Elizabeth Cochran.
Okay.
That's her birth name. We'll bury the lead a little bit. This is her now. We're gonna spend some time. Here's a picture.
The girl puzzle?
Yeah, this is a picture of a giant statue of her head next to a smaller statue of her head.
I wouldn't say head. It is the statue
face.
of basically just her face.
Just the
and
face part.
Some of her forehead.
Yeah.
And it's like they wanted to do a full bust.
Yeah.
You know, but then they were like, let's just do the front part of it.
Well, and then
is
they
that
went
also
bust.
The smaller version?
I know, yeah. It's right next. There's a tiny one right next to her
Right.
on the plaque.
The small side, the small thing is what you would put in like a museum to be
Yeah.
like, the real one's down on, this street. And instead,
They put it right next to it.
I really don't understand why they did that.
Yeah, I don't know either. But to describe this picture, it's an island. This is actually in New York City. There's a little island with a lighthouse behind her. And then, this has got to be a 10, 15 foot tall
Sure.
statue of her face.
And it says the girl puzzle.
Nellie Bly. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to explain this whole thing to you, and you're still not going to understand why it says the girl puzzle.
Okay. Because you're looking at it right now. You also were like a little bit like,
I'm
I don't
very
know
puzzled.
why it says that. The girl puzzle. Okay.
Yeah. Here's another picture of her with AirPods as big as her head.
Why?
I don't know. Let's go up and Google Images. This is a picture of her. This is a picture.
It's for audio listeners, it's just a black and white photo, like what you'd see in 1915.
Yeah.
And someone just
Pretty poorly photoshopped
gigantic AirPods.
The proportions
in her
are
ears.
way off.
Yeah.
The AirPods reach from ear to
It'd be like
jaw.
if you were teaching a 7th grader how to do Photoshop.
Yeah. Actually, that's pretty accurate.
And this was just their first pass. You know?
Those AirPods are just destroying her ears. They had to drill a hole in her head.
I'll tell you what,
to fit those
she's
in.
puzzled by the AirPods.
She's 27 in this picture. Can you believe that?
No way.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Did 27-year-olds just used to look like that?
What do you mean?
Like she looks 11 years old.
I know she does. Isn't that a thing?
Is that an indictment of us? You know what I'm saying? Because we're 28
Yeah, we look stressed
and we look bad.
compared to her. Yeah.
She looks like Millie Bobby Brown in the beginning of Stranger Things.
She actually really does.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
This was Millie Bobby Brown in a past life, and it kind of checks out. But here's the thing: have you heard this lately of people who are like,
Don't point at me like that.
sorry.
Yeah. Have you heard this lately?
How many fingers am I allowed to point at you? 4? Don't.
We all saw that, right? We all saw it. That's all right. And we all know that I'm going to screenshot it with no context.
God dang it. Okay, no, but have you heard people talking about that where it's like adults or teenagers in the 80s, 90s, 70s,
60s, 50s
looked older than teenagers do now?
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Is that true? Do you think that's true? I watched one of those TikToks where they play the Simple Plan song and then they show
do
the
like
high
the
school
2009 or whatever.
This is a high school from 2008.
I know you commented on it. You commented and said, "Wow, plaid shorts is a bad call." It came up on mine, and I looked at the comments, and yours was the top comment.
It came up on Isaiah's, and he commented on that comment, and he was like, "Yeah, it was. We told you." I said someone should have told us, and he was like, "Yeah, we did.
You.
We told you."
Somebody told me too. They were like, "Hey, come on, man, cut it out."
The plaid shirts were sick, bro.
Yeah, man, I didn't have any sense of style. Holy cow, dude! If I can go back, I would be more stylish. No, I said no. Yeah, dude, I was wearing black with brown shorts sometimes.
Yeah, but style then was weird.
It was a bad time. We were all just having a bad time.
Yeah.
But I will say, when you're experiencing it and living it, you obviously feel like, oh, we're older, you know?
Well, yeah.
I would say I disagree though, because the style of clothing that even the popular kids wore wasn't like adult clothes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the popular kids weren't dressing like 27-year-old.
True.
Like there are high schoolers who post these TikToks dressed like the people downtown on the weekends. And that wasn't the same.
That is true. That is true. But I think even just like, I don't know, something about the average 90s high school kid.
Sure.
Like they just, almost like their features looked older. Like their head. I bet that was the radioactivity in our cereal that changed us.
Probably.
Anyways, let's talk about Nellie Bly. Elizabeth Cochran at this point. She's not Bly yet.
What year are we in?
1864. She was born May 5th, 1864 in a town called Cochran's Mills, which that was her last name. Her dad owned the town.
Very wealthy.
She came from a
That's why she looked young, dude.
Fair.
She's wealthy, dude. We look like this because we're poor.
She wasn't at the time of that photo. No, because here's what happened. So her dad had two wives. She was the last daughter from the second wife. He had 10 children with his first wife, and then 5 more.
That's what people did in the 1800s.
His second wife.
They had kids.
She was daughter number 13.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so Cochran's Mills was just them. The whole town was just
yeah,
them.
That makes sense.
It's now a part of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
It's been swallowed by Pittsburgh. Like happens to so many people.
Okay.
She grew up on the farm, and then when she became an adult, her family passed away.
All of them. One by one.
No one knew why.
She had to watch them.
No, her parents passed away. She was on her own, and she got a job working as like a housemaid, right?
She was on her own, had like 15 siblings.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was just
entrepreneurial.
That is the time when people just did the whole carry a stick with a bag on the end of it and just look at their mom and dad and they go, I'm leaving. And they're like, we'll never see you again. And they just left.
That's true. That's true. You never saw them again. Yeah, you didn't know they existed anymore.
That's wild.
That is pretty crazy. Anyways, so she left and she became like a housemaid. And one day, when she was in her early 20s, there was a local Pittsburgh newspaper that released like an editorial article, basically from a dude, and this is 1880s at the time.
Yep.
And it's from a guy who's basically
the roaring 80s.
The roaring 80s. Yeah. Yeah. The things happening. This Stranger Things. Basically this article was all about how women, their places, the kitchen and the house. And I think there was a direct quote that women are supposed to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, which is a really weird.
That was in the 1880s article?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she was very offended by this. Because
that was something that was said pretty often at Evangel still, though.
barefooted pregnant in the kitchen.
Not a joke.
I mean,
You've not heard that? I grew up Baptist, dude. They
I've never
straight
heard
up still joke.
that
They still joke like that.
I've never heard that set together like that. Like I've heard the sentiment,
I have.
but I haven't heard
I've heard, barefoot
pregnant in the kitchen. That's crazy. But yeah, so that was in there.
Dude, I grew up Baptist, man. They don't like
people.
women. Yeah.
I mean, I guess. And so she was very offended by
Well,
it.
people too. They don't think women are people. So it's like,
Okay,
it's like,
I see where
it's
you're
all
going.
whole thing.
So she wrote, I don't know what the
A
technical
response.
I don't know what the technical term is for it, a clap back.
Okay.
So she wrote a letter to the editor, and he got it and was like, "Wow, this is really well written," and was very surprised
For a dumb
by
woman.
So he actually
Wait, is that why she had to go by Nellie? Was because she became a writer, and then like they were like, "Ew, women."
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but no.
Okay.
Yes, but also not for that reason.
But that is her writing name. Nellie.
That is her writing name.
Gotcha.
She did adopt that, but not because of that.
Okay.
A different, equally
We'll get there.
bad reason. Anyways, so the editor read it and was like, she wrote good. Get her up on the telegraph.
Oh, you got me.
And so
Sweet darling. She wrote good.
they called her up and were like, what if you wrote more stuff for us? But they were like, but only girl stuff. And so she was hired to write gossip and gardening and fashion articles. And so she was excited to be in a career writing because it was more enjoyable to her than being like a housemaid. But it wasn't what she wanted. She did not want to be writing.
I thought that yesterday. I was
Gossip articles and stuff.
the TV was on ESPN, and they had a woman anchor on there, and they were ranking Steph Curry's haircuts, and I was like, "This is the most." And
That's weird.
I was like, she's worked really hard for her career in sports broadcasting, and she's on ESPN right now.
Yeah.
And she's ranking Steph Curry's haircuts. I was
that's
like,
a little-
come on.
Yeah, that's
how did that
pretty annoying.
How did that get by?
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
I even saw it and I was like, oh, dude, it's 2023, dude.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
That's pretty rough.
But she was barefoot,
But thankfully they didn't give her shoes.
and they filmed it in her kitchen.
The show could give her
So
shoes.
the show could give her shoes.
No, so she got this job. It was for a newspaper called the Pittsburgh Dispatch.
Okay.
And she was there for a couple of years, and she was constantly, this explains a lot.
Was her article called "The Girl Puzzle"?
Yeah, her column was the girl puzzle.
Oh, wow.
So that explains a lot.
I was going to guess that, actually. I was going to guess, she wrote something called "The Girl Puzzle."
Yeah. I totally that was such a minute detail in my research. When I found this picture, I forgot about it. But yeah, so they made a statue in honor of the job that she was least proud of. So that's pretty great.
Wow.
Anyways,
So was she going by Nellie Bly?
yeah. So the way that in this era of newspapers, a couple of things were a little strange. One, most newspaper articles didn't even have a byline. So you didn't know who wrote the article. You just knew it was a Pittsburgh Dispatch.
Yeah, it takes way too
article.
much ink.
Yeah, too much ink to tell them who wrote this. Tell them the newspaper wrote it.
Just say the newspaper did it.
But another thing was especially for women, for whatever reason, they always used pen names. If they ever got a byline, they did not use their real name. They used a pen name. And so the editor of the newspaper was like, you know what, and I don't know why he chose this. But
he chose her pen name?
Yeah, he said, you know what your pen name should be? It should be Nellie Bly, because that is the main character in a song by this guy named Stephen Foster that he really liked. And so he named her Nellie Bly.
She's like, can I put what's your name, gal? It's Elizabeth Cochran. I I don't like it. Let's go with Nellie Bly.
Nellie Bly. And
I just imagine, I know it's a different era, but I imagine the Spider-Man, you know, like that.
I don't like it.
Nellie Bly.
Nellie Bly.
Cigar, and
Yep.
you know.
Yep. Honestly, you're probably right. That's probably why all the women went by pen names.
This is the editors were
editor's just
like,
I don't like that name.
You got a dumb name.
We're changing that
It
name.
reminds me that you're married.
The best part about it is he misspelled Nellie Bly. It was named after the character in the song, and which is spelled with a Y, and he spelled it with an IE. But they printed it, and then he noticed it when they printed it.
And he's like,
oh, can't change it now. So, yeah, so she became Nellie Bly. She wrote this girl puzzle column for a little while, and she kept asking for more serious articles because she really believed that.
So you're telling me that in the 1880s, there was a girl code? Like it was just her being like, listen, if that guy comes over to your house and he's only got one horse and not two, you dump him to the curb.
I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Was it a gossip column for her town of relatives?
Well, no, this is Pittsburgh now. Now she's in the real Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So she moved. She got a big time job in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And she kept demanding more serious articles. Finally, after a couple years of trying to get onto some serious stuff, she talked the editor into letting her write an article about the treatment of working women in a local factory in Pittsburgh. And so she did that and wrote this expose on it. And the factory was mad, and they called the newspaper. And we're like,
hey, who's Nellie Bly?
Yeah, hey, we treat our women great. Stop it.
Yeah.
And so she got...
Can we talk to any of them? No.
Yeah, no.
They're busy working.
No, we took their mouths.
Jeez.
No, so sorry, that's the chest in my office.
Oh.
It's full of our workers' mouths. All of them, we take them all. You can't talk back if you don't have a mouth.
All right.
So she got in trouble for exposing the factory.
Sure.
And she got relegated back to her little girl puzzle column.
Okay.
Until one day she was like, hey, what if I don't expose like a local company that you're getting like ad revenue from? What if instead I expose the country of Mexico? And they were like, that's great. And so
this guy really was just a stereotype, wasn't he? He's like, well, if there's anything I hate, it's women and foreigners.
So she had found out that there was local journalists that were getting imprisoned by the Mexican government under a dictator there. And so she went and she lived for a year and a half reporting on the lives and customs of the Mexican people and what the Mexican government was doing to reporters in Mexico. And that went really well. And so she came back and she was all excited to be able to start to do more journalism.
And she was like, oh my gosh,
authentic
I just
journalism.
spent 2 years in a foreign country sending correspondence and updates on news happenings. Like, surely, what's my next piece? And he's like, yeah, there's a new makeup line out that we need you to write an article about, but don't talk about their workers.
Don't mention the factory.
Hey, thanks for being here for this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you like this and you want to check out other episodes, please go through our back catalog. There's literally like 100 and something episodes that you can go check out. One of my favorites is Stanley Meyer, a guy who allegedly invented a water-powered vehicle and then took that invention everywhere and then mysteriously died. So we go through the whole theories of what could have happened to him or like why his idea was plausible, not plausible. Really great episode. But other than that, thank you so much for being here and checking out this one.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. They get back and she gets pushed back into her little girl puzzle.
Her little girl puzzle. Every time we talk about it, it makes it worse. Her stupid little irrelevant. No one even read it. They printed it in invisible ink.
And so she gets fired up in 1887 and she just pieces out, leaves the Pittsburgh Dispatch and leaves Pittsburgh in general and goes to New York City, the city of lights.
Big city,
and says there's got to be a newspaper in here that will take me. And she has an idea. She says, I want to expose, there was a infamously bad insane asylum in New York City on an island called Blackwell's Island. So, I mean, it's just in the name. It's going to be a sketchy asylum.
Yeah.
It's also the 1880s. So we know for a fact that it's a sketchy asylum just because of the year. And so she's like, I want to expose them.
I've been in the 1880s.
Expose. Yeah, did you? What day was it?
Well, it was sort of our city, you know? Been there a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. And what she did is she said she basically went from newspaper to newspaper and walked on the floor and found the editor and said, here's my idea. I want to expose Blackwell's Island. Will you pay for me to do it? And door after door, they were like, no. Like, we're not going to, no.
Okay.
And so, and she was like bringing like records of her writings and like the articles from her trip in Mexico, her articles on the factory. And one fateful day, she was in, let me
BuzzFeed headquarters.
New York World newspaper, which is, was run by a publisher known as Joseph Pulitzer. I don't know if you've heard of that name.
Oh.
A pretty big deal in the news world. They named a prize after him.
Yeah.
At the bottom of your Cracker
What do you
Jacks.
think prize would be named after you for?
Oh, that's interesting.
Someone won the Stone Prize.
The Stone Prize?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't think of anything impressive. What about you?
What was that? Ow, that hurt. Okay, anyway. Pulitzer. So Pulitzer.
Yeah, Pulitzer Prize. So he was like, hey, that's
I'll
interesting.
take a shot
That's interesting.
Because that's an interesting story.
Yeah. So he's like, that's an interesting idea. He said, how are you going to do it? And she said, well, she's like, I need to be able to figure out how to
I
get
thought
some
that he
interviews
was
and
going to
things
turn
like
her
that.
away, and then he went and wrote it.
Well, what he said, this is perfect. He said, here's what you need to do. He said, you need to convince the city of New York that you're insane.
Oh, I was
and
just going to say that. Infiltrate the prison.
Yeah, get committed. And he said, go by the name Nellie Brown. And he said, that's how I'll get you out. I'll come and 10 days after you get committed, I'll come and I'll be like, hey, I need Nellie Brown. She's not actually crazy. We're writing an article. And and
that is so much faith to put in somebody. Like, you've gone to business to business to business, right? Let's say, you've gone through interview after interview. Your LinkedIn profile is you're like, oh man, you've updated your resume. You go everywhere and you go, hey, I need a job. And someone goes, okay,
I got an
here's
idea.
what we're going to do. You're going to go spend 10 days in a place that's rumored to be pretty rough. And at the end of that 10 days, I am going to come ask for you by a different name.
And we're going to get you rescued.
And then after that,
you're hired.
Yeah, can I just write a cover letter?
We got to know what you're capable of there, Nellie.
Oh, well, okay. All right.
And so she goes.
How do you convince the state, like the city of New York City, that you're crazy? You got to land on the tallest building and then get naked and paint yourself green.
So she went and she found a local women's boarding home.
Okay.
And she got a room there. And she just convinced everyone there that she was insane. And so she just, I don't know, was loud and obnoxious.
Hi, I'm insane.
Hi, I'm crazy.
Okay.
I guess just got on everyone's nerves until eventually they called the police and were like, this lady's insane. You need to put her in the hospital. Like, there's not a lot of description of
Imagine
how she did
how annoying you got to be, though, to get the cops called on you. You know?
There's this new girl in my boarding house that I really want to get locked up.
I'm trying to think of what I could do.
I don't know, man. So she goes and she's in there for a couple weeks. Finally gets the police called. The police do the wellness check and they say, yeah, you need to see a doctor. And she has two doctors that examine her and both of them say that she is insane beyond repair and needs to be committed to Blackwell's Island. And so she says in her
she's
articles,
she's like, I'm crazy. But I need to go to Blackwell's Island. You know, like, how do you...
Send me to Blackwell's Island.
What if she does all that and they send her somewhere else? You know? Like, they
send her to the wrong...
Because you got no way of notifying Pulitzer. You know? You got no way of telling him that you didn't get in.
Pulitzer shows up and he
shows up here for Nellie Brown.
She didn't take the job.
And they go, there's no one by that name here.
Are you
Guards?
crazy?
Get him. You know what I'm saying? Like...
So she wrote in her article that this experience, getting examined by these doctors, made her lose faith in the medical system. Because she's like, I'm not an actor. I don't know what I'm doing. And I convinced these doctors very easily that I should be put away for life.
Yeah, but it's the 1880s, dude. I mean, like...
What, do you think people were more gullible back then?
No, I just think medicine was dumb. You know?
That's fair. That is fair.
And I it's going to be crazy to me. I think about this sometimes too, that in 100 years, we'll think our current medicine is stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
That's true. That's true.
But I mean, like, yeah, even in the most advanced things in the 1880s, we're still they were just figuring some stuff out, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. So she, it worked. She got committed.
Yeah.
And she spent 10 days there, and Pulitzer did show back up. And so
God.
she wrote the article. And in the article, she talked about her experience, and it was terrible. They didn't give them blankets. They were sleeping in the cold. They gave them cold baths every day, and the nurses would scrub them with a sponge to the point where their skin was
she's
like
got
raw.
to stay in character the whole time too.
Well,
I mean, imagine.
What was interesting is she said that once she was in, she started acting normal, and they thought she was crazier because she was acting normal. And she noticed that while she was in there, that there are a lot of people that were committed to this insane asylum
that were pretty normal.
Yeah. And she actually noted that there was a pretty large population of women in there who just spoke German, and the doctors couldn't understand them, so they assumed that they were crazy. Like, that was all that was wrong. They were just like, we don't know what they're saying. They are clearly, they're just speaking gibberish.
They're crazy. I don't understand.
Is that...
You don't understand the concept of a different language?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty bad.
And look, the two idiots understand each other. Look at that. They're having a little conversation. That's what I'm saying. Is that you're like, oh, really? You think it was pretty primitive? Yeah, dude, they didn't know freaking... And they're like, 9.
It's a different language.
Get out of here, dude. That's a number. What are you talking? What are you yelling 9 at me for? And so imagine you go to another country, right? You get there, they can't understand a word you're saying. And then for the next 3 years of your life, you're just taking cold baths.
Yeah. And you're like, this country sucks. Yeah, pretty accurate to what happened there.
And what that does too is that, like, so you're saying, like, if anybody did improve in there, like, just by acting normal, they were like, yeah, you're crazier than you when you came in.
You're even crazier now. Like, yeah.
Oh,
it was a mess. It was a mess. And so
your biggest fear is getting, like,
oh, I'm so afraid of
falsely accused of stuff.
Yeah, so scared.
You know what my biggest fear is?
What?
Is some kind of crazy spine injury or something that leaves me where I'm like, I can't move my body and, like, I can't speak. And so you start talking to me like, hey, Jaron.
Yeah.
Hi. And inside, I'm like, I'm freaking here.
I know what's going on.
My brain fully functions, but I'm in there just like.
But your body can't.
And there's no way for me to tell you.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, that's a very rough scenario.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm doing.
I get a spine injury and suddenly I'm speaking German.
He's crazy.
He's crazy, dude.
You know that's a real thing.
Yeah. Not speaking. Well,
no. There is a brain injury. I don't know. No, it's a real thing. It's seriously a real thing.
I know. It's a Tom Segura bit. That's why you know about it.
Yeah, I think
where you start talking with a different accent.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're right. Anyways, okay. So she writes the article, and
it is a funny bit.
It was a massive hit, like nationwide hit.
Yeah.
And
they're like, dude, look, they let a crazy person write an article.
And it made her famous. And it also had a unexpected effect of absolutely reforming the insane asylum and most insane asylums. So funding in the state of New York, or in the city of New York, immediately after this, they put $1 million into their mental health organizations, which at the time was $1 million. Now it's worth like $25 million.
And they're like, yeah, get them hot water.
Yeah, give them a blanket, give them hot water, and if they speak a different language, maybe they don't need to be there. Like if that's all they're in there for, maybe they don't need it.
Okay.
And so the people who were there, they said the day Nellie left, everything changed, which is interesting. And so she, I don't know if she expected to have as much of an impact on the system as much as she did, as quickly as she did.
Yeah.
And so massive change overnight. And she also became very famous. And Pulitzer was obviously excited about it because, it's his paper.
He's like, oh, yeah, this is great for me.
And so he's like, what are you going to do next?
He's like, I'm going to give you a prize.
That's how it started. He did that to all his paper. He's like,
she's like, can I have a job?
Prize.
No, better.
And so this launched a whole new. This had been around before. She kind of claimed that she invented it, but this really launched a new era of what's called as stunt journalism or detective reporting, which is a little a gray area in ethics. I think nowadays,
where she like infiltrated and like kind of
nowadays, I think most
publications won't allow it.
Yeah, they call it unethical because you're looking for the truth, and to get to the truth, you're lying. Saying I'm an insane person and then exposing people off of that. So, I mean, she got to the truth. But anyways, so this became a big deal. A lot of newspapers for the next 10 years or so were doing stunt journalism, expose things.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the person you're talking to could be writing an expose on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
looking at me like you're writing an expose on me. Quick, who can write it first?
You released yours the day before I was supposed to release mine. Goodness, man.
Exposed.
Mine's got a lot more worse stuff in it though, because you're a bad person. And they don't know that yet.
That's what my prize will be.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So she started. Did she do another stunt journalist piece?
Yeah, she started doing a bunch of these pieces where she was
putting on fake mustaches.
Yeah, and infiltrating factories and businesses and all this different stuff, exposing how bad they were, right? And she was famous for it. So she was one of the only authors, newspaper article authors ever, like male or female in that era, even to this day, who would in the headline have her name. It wasn't in a byline. It was Nellie Bly infiltrated General Mills or something like that. Because everyone was like, "Oh,
General Mills,
Nellie Bly." Yeah, I've just assumed they're around then.
Okay.
Nellie Bly meets Coca-Cola. And that was and people would be like, "Oh, it's Nellie Bly again. I'm gonna read what she did this time." It was exciting for people.
Yeah. And she was the Borat of their time. No, I get it.
Oh my gosh. So she did a bunch of this, and then she came to Pulitzer with this idea, and this is an idea that Pulitzer didn't get behind because she said, "Hey, it is now 1888, been a year of her giant success, right?" And so she comes to Pulitzer. She said, here's what I want to do. She said, that book, that really big book.
The Bible. That book.
No, Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days had come out a little over 10 years before this. And it was a huge hit, right? And she said, what if I did that? What if I went around the world in 80 days? Nobody's done it. Like they wrote it in the book and the guy achieved it in 80 days in the book. He said, she's like, what if I beat that? What if I got it in less than 80 days? And Pulitzer was like, there's no way you could do that. He was like, maybe a man, but he said, you as a woman, he said you would need security to go with you.
Maybe a man.
No joke. Literally. He said you would need like an escort to go with you to protect you. You would need to imagine the amount of luggage you would have to bring. Because at the time, women brought those. I mean, you've seen in like cartoons, those giant
like, you guys
chests.
got to change clothes like 4 times a day or whatever you guys do, you know?
Yeah, literally. And they were like, he was like, no, there's no way you could beat that. And he said it's not a glamorous thing for a woman to travel around the world. And she's like, I think I can beat it. Let me beat it. And he was like, no. He's like, you can't do that. And she was like, fine, send a man. I'll race him. I bet I'll beat him. And he refused. And so then she went around New York trying to find.
Because she needs somebody to pay for it?
Yeah, she needed.
Or she just needs somebody to believe in her. You know, like what do you mean? She went around New York. She was like, just
do you think I could do this?
Do you think I could do this? Vote yes or no. And then give me money. And then give me money to vote.
to vote, so that way I can pay for it to go.
$1 for no, $2 for yes.
I hate how accurate this is to the story. So she ends up.
She fundraised it.
She ends up going around New York trying to convince a bunch of people.
What, does she raffle it? She's like, hey, if I do it.
She's going around New York trying to convince a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it.
Can't find anybody.
Yeah, got to sell raffle tickets.
Ends up sleeping on it for a little bit. Goes back to New York World, convinces Pulitzer, and manages to get sent on this trip. But Pulitzer says, here's how we can justify this. He says, if we have a Nellie Bly guessing match where people guess the hour you'll return, and whoever wins can get a trip to Europe.
How did I bit my way into that? What are you talking about? How did I?
Yeah, you really did. You really did. And so the game was you guess down to the second. You guess when Nellie returns to New York City.
Yeah, it's like a baby getting born.
Yeah, and then whoever's the closest gets a trip to Europe was the prize.
Yeah, that lasts not 80 days.
It lasts maybe 8 days.
Still, that was a big trip back then, though.
Yeah, that was a huge deal. And so on November 14th, 1889, with just 2 days notice, they're like, hey, you're going on that trip.
Sure. Okay.
She went on her trip around the world, and she got on the Augusta Victoria.
So what, she would be returning on January 13th? What day was she leaving? November 14th?
November 14th.
So she'd be returning on January. She has to beat it.
She has to get there before.
By the end of January, February 1st.
Yeah, because she's trying to beat the 80 days thing.
She's got to be by February 1st.
It's a 40,000 kilometer journey all the way around the world. And
was she
brought
going
just
on a boat?
a little handbag.
She can use whatever she can get. Yeah,
whatever she can get. She brought a little handbag. And the
Is there a documentary where a guy did that in his little...
Yeah, and it's actually really good.
His little motorcycle and sidecar thing?
Yeah, and he had to keep like...
And he was relying on the kindness of other people. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was a good documentary.
It was all right.
What was it called?
I don't remember.
Kindness?
I think it's called I Don't Remember.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. Stupid.
So she brought a little handbag, like with one pair of clothes, basically, because she wanted to travel light. And some crackers. She had to do it quickly. Left on her own. She left, and while she was like, by the time she got to Germany, another New York newspaper was like, we can do it too. And they sent another girl out on this trip that they just found.
Just like, a random girl.
You want to make 757?
9. Wow, you're crazy. Let's get out of here.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you around the whole world. I don't know about that. No, she... The
other girl got a head start. You get the same time frame, though. So you got to do it in like 72 days.
Yeah, you got to beat her. And so the whole time, she's chronicling her journey. It's like a freaking Russian.
It's like a Rocky story, right? So there's Nellie out there, and she's like, hi. And then she's got this weird, like, kind of girl, but like racing her.
She's like 6'9".
Yeah,
like 280.
Huge freaking, right?
And she walked the whole trip.
Didn't sleep.
I'm coming for you, Nellie.
Nellie. That's all she can say. Nellie, lose. Right?
Nellie, come.
Walking through the bottom of the sea.
Just this bubbles.
No boat needed. All right. Eating nothing but the meat from the sharks that she kills.
Her head's just like 90% forehead. Her face is like already.
What? Nellie, lose. And she did not beat her at all. Dude, it takes so long
drowned.
to walk. She drowned. She drowned. Ooh. Dude, imagine day one though, watching her walk into the sea, where you're just out there.
She's not gonna make it.
And then you see little bubbles coming up. And then you just see she walks in, goes straight down, and everyone's like, "All right, she's going."
She's doing it.
Like 5 minutes later, you just
See the body.
that got off the rails so fast. That hurts. What sound are you making right now?
It hurts so bad. Oh my god.
Oh, I need some water.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Oh shoot. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you're enjoying it, make sure you subscribe. And while you're at it, leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening, leave a review. That stuff really helps a lot. It really boosts us in the algorithms and makes sure a lot more people get to see what we're doing. And so we appreciate that a ton. Leave that comment, leave that review, and we'll see you in the next episode. So Nellie goes on this trip. And she brings just like a handbag with like one item of clothing.
Yeah.
And all the other newspapers.
She makes it to Germany. New York sends somebody else. Is that other person relevant at all?
I mean, it's
They don't catch up and do it as a duo?
No. It was just they were like, oh, we can do that too.
So, yeah, capitalism's always been that way, huh?
Yeah.
America's always been like
they're doing it.
We also had a girl on our team who's going. Yeah.
But all the newspapers, they couldn't let go of the fact that all she brought was one bag. They were like, this woman, she doesn't have all these chests
One
with
bag
her.
Nellie, huh?
She doesn't have. I think there was one article that said normally for a trip like this, you would expect a woman to bring a 4-story tall chest.
Yeah,
for the trip.
really caused a lot of problems in some marriages. I'll tell you what. People were packing, I guarantee this would happen. Oh, really? You got to take up the whole trunk, huh? Nellie took one bag.
Yeah. Why can't you be more like Nellie?
World.
Why can't you be more like Nellie?
Did Nellie make it?
Yeah. So as she went around, she actually stopped and got dinner with Jules Verne, which was an interesting little moment. And the whole time she was writing little telegraphs back, and they were publishing those of her journey. So she's on these little telegraphs. People are getting updates. They're so excited every week to see episode 2 of Nellie's trip around the world. And she did it. She made it back in 72 days.
Wow.
So beat the book, and everybody lost their mind. Who
won?
I don't know, actually. I don't know who won.
Because you got to think everyone was guessing 76. There's one person who wrote down
who was early.
One day.
Yeah.
Because you got to do the Price is Right thing, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, you can't go over.
Yeah, I don't know who won it. I don't have a record of that. I don't know. But she did get the world record for quickest trip around the whole globe.
Wow.
That she held for only a few months before a guy named
that other
George
girl got back.
No, a guy named George Francis Train. He did it in 67 days a couple months later, which is a little obnoxious, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's like, if she did it.
He's like, I can do it with no bags.
No bags. Hands tied behind my back. He also drowned. Yep.
But his body kept floating all the way around 67 days.
It counts.
Fastest trip around the world by a dead guy.
I'm trying to bail out of the bit so hard.
I know you are. So another smash success. People loved this story. They were so excited to read all the columns of her journey and hear about how things went. And this one was a little bit...
nice shirt, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, the whole time I've been trying to figure out how to bring it up. Hey,
Yeah, I
you're
got
wearing
it.
our Fiddle Off
I got it
vest.
from my new favorite brand, shop.tilln.com.
Is it shop or is it merch?
I think it's shop. Hey, we could set up both, whatever you want, honestly.
I thought it was merch.tilln.com.
We're in control. I think it's shop. It's shop, right? Well, hold on. Yes, it's shop.
Well, I'm gonna change the whole website soon anyway.
We can set that up. Yeah, this is my new favorite brand. It's cool, isn't it?
I mean, it really is a fun design. I liked it.
Yeah, this is a good one. I really liked this one.
I did it.
Yeah.
I made it. Yeah. It's cool.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
So
This she was a huge success. This was an interesting moment where stunt journalism began to change a little bit, because for the first few years after she started it, or like made it more popular, stunt journalism was all exposing a corporation or a country or a person
sure.
for doing something sketchy. And then she did this, and then stunt journalism kind of just became more about the stunt, not about the exposure. It was just like, what's the craziest thing you can do? Like, can you parachute into a UFC fight or something? I don't know.
Sure.
And so, yeah, this was kind of like the first viral TikTok. But it took a lot longer.
Yeah. And people don't appreciate the amount of craft work that goes into those things, you know? You used to have to try. And now if you're hot enough, you can just, do whatever, dude. You can just be like, hi, you work here at Starbucks, right? Here's $100,000. Viral video right there.
So she then, in 1895, what is that, like 5 years later? She had wrote a novel or two, and those were decently successful, had been writing for newspapers, and her newspaper career was very successful. But she married a millionaire manufacturer by the name of Robert Seaman when she was 31, and he was 73. And after their wedding, due to her husband's failing health, because he's 73 and
she's
the
smart.
1890s,
he died that night.
She left her journalism career to help run her husband's corporation called the Ironclad Manufacturing Co., which made steel containers for like milk cans and boilers and things like that.
Okay,
a very 1890s corporation.
Yeah. They make those things when you blow across the top. It goes.
Yeah. She was a musician. And so she started working at this corporation, like running this corporation, when she had no right to, other than the fact that she just married the guy.
Yeah.
She had no experience with it.
Sure.
But he died in 1904, so 9 years after their marriage. So survived
Which is still
longer
such
than
a
she
long
wanted.
time to really wait it out, you know? Like, did you see Buzz Aldrin just got married? Did you see Buzz Aldrin's
No, I did
wedding?
not.
He's like 100. He's like 93. He just got married.
Yeah, good for him.
She's way younger.
I love. But while she was working at the Ironclad Manufacturing Co., she actually released a couple patents. She patented an improved milk can design.
Holds more milk.
Yeah, it's shaped better, so it pours better, I guess. It was a little less splashy, which is interesting. She also invented a new ironing board, which is something we take for granted now. But she invented the new ergonomic shape. I guess it's not new anymore. It's been around since like 1901. But at the time, ironing boards didn't have this ergonomic shape. So yeah, you couldn't like link your clothes on it, like your sleeve and stuff, and have it hold on. Like it was just a board, and you just like laid your stuff on it, and so she designed the ironing board that we all take for granted.
Yeah.
And she got that patent for it.
The only ironing boards I use are in hotel rooms when I'm desperate. But you know that before I try the ironing board, I take a shower with the shirt hanging in the shower. You know, I hope the humidity kind of like wrinkle, you know? And I have travel wrinkle spray.
Yeah, we've been there. We've been there.
Yeah, you did the road life for a month, dude. You did the road life for a month in 2014.
We stayed in one hotel.
I'm 9 years into this thing, bro.
wouldn't say it.
Remember that?
I'd say we've all been there.
Remember that fun little month you had on the road?
Jeez Louise.
I've been dying for 9 years.
I had fun.
I had a great time. Now imagine doing that with no friend.
You want to switch once? What if we switched once?
Why don't you go out?
You think people would notice?
Why don't you do this gig I'm doing tomorrow? I really... well, by the time this comes out, I don't want to do it. It'll come out. You know, I'll probably say it there. They're making me wear a suit. I don't want to do that crap.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
I had to go buy a suit that I'm going to return to Kohl's on Monday.
You're going to have to iron that in the hotel.
No, I
Thanks, Nellie.
bought the kind that doesn't wrinkle. I bought the kind of suit. This is how much I don't care. Is that I bought the kind of suit that doesn't wrinkle and you can machine wash it.
Those are great.
Yep. And they're jogger pants. They're not even like real. I was like, I'm not gonna.
I didn't know they made that.
Yeah, look, they're at Kohl's.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I used my Kohl's cash.
Can I pay Kohl's cash for this suit?
Yeah, but then they caught me. It was counterfeit Kohl's cash. I was using counterfeit Kohl's cash, bro.
It's really hard to get the watermark right.
Yeah, they can't arrest you for that though, so it's worth a shot. It's not illegal. It's not illegal to try to use counterfeit Kohl's cash. It's not against the law. They can't call the cops. What is the Kohl's cop going to come up and arrest me?
Okay.
What's that scar on your forehead? That's where I got tackled by the Kohl's cop. I'm giving you time to look up whatever you're looking up right now.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Kohl's.
I'm just over here talking about Kohl's. Oh, what is happening? Okay. Cool. Yeah, so she got rich off of this guy.
For sure.
That she married for his money.
And love.
And love. And she, she had a really...
And because she promised her dad she would make her friend, you know, it's her dad's friend. She's like, all right, I guess it's for a favor.
He'll only be alive for like 2 more years, Nellie.
And then he lived 9 years. Now she's 40.
Yeah. She actually, in this role...
Did they have kids together?
I don't know, actually. I don't think so. Yeah, no, she didn't. But she, in this role, became like one of the leading industrialists in the United States. And she was like a part of World War I, like a big industrial leader for the manufacturing efforts for the war.
Interesting.
Which is very strange because she wrote articles about traveling the world and gossip. And that's what qualified her for that. But good for her. And then,
she can at least be like, yeah, I'm well traveled. I've been to these countries.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It didn't work out though, because of her. This is exactly how Wikipedia puts it. Her negligence and the embezzlement of another factory manager resulted in the ironclad manufacturing code going bankrupt. So it didn't last long.
Because someone else.
Well, it
stole
says
all the
her
money.
negligence. So it was her
she wasn't,
and the factory, the other person. Yeah.
Well, it'd be like if you stole all their podcast money, and I would technically be negligent, but really I don't care.
But really it's your fault.
Because of her trust in her coworkers. That's what I should say. Because of her trust in other people.
Should I suggest an edit on Wikipedia?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll suggest the edit. So she died in January 27th, 1922. She was 57 years old. I don't know why I'm laughing at this. I was just thinking.
I don't either, Tim.
I was just thinking about the other girl in the bottom of the sea.
And she died at the age 57. And they give her a Viking funeral where they just floated her out there.
They'll finally be together. Her and the sea girl.
And they don't even remember her name. They call her the Sea Girl. If you say it too fast, it sounds like seagull. So you got to say Sea Girl.
Sometimes at night you can hear her marching on the seafloor.
If you listen real careful.
Nellie.
Lose.
That's where the rapper got the name. He heard it one night.
Out at sea.
Out at sea. Yeah, he was a fisherman before his rap career.
All right. He's from St. Louis.
Yeah, but he was well traveled.
All right.
Well traveled St. Louian. Ever since this, she became. She died, and like a lot of people, she died and she got a lot of recognition. And so she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1980 or 98. There was it was honored with a postage stamp in a Women in Journalism set in 2002.
Oh, wow.
And then the Roosevelt Island
I'm
operating.
going to put this out there now for my ancestors. If they're ever like, how should we honor journalists? Do like a postage stamp. No. No. Don't do that crap.
But in 2019, Roosevelt Island wanted to add a face statue of her to their island. And so they held a competition.
Is there a reason why it's there at that location?
Well, I'll show you. So
Is that where she set off for her voyage?
No. Roosevelt Island is a strange thing. Hold on.
There's no significance to why it's there.
I mean, it's New York. She was there when she was significant.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for it to be there with that what am I trying to say? Light tower thing?
Yeah, I think that lighthouse is just part of
Lighthouse.
Roosevelt
Could
Island.
not think lighthouse to save my life, man.
I'm trying to get one where you can see more of the island, but I'm struggling to hear. This one's good enough. I don't know why, but whoever manages this island, this is just what they do. Like, they just put heads
And smaller heads.
faces. Yeah.
Every one of them's got a smaller version next to on the plaque.
Yeah. That one over there's got the big crack in the forehead. But yeah.
Is that a crack or a reflection?
I think it's a crack. I don't think this metal reflects, does it?
Okay.
I mean, I don't see a reflection anywhere else that looks like that. Yeah, it's just a strange island.
So it's Nellie Bly. Who's this woman up front?
Yeah, I don't know who any of these people are.
That's Halle Berry in the middle.
Are you sure?
No. I'm totally making it up.
Yeah, so there's just a bunch of
Weird
statues on this island, and I don't have an explanation for why.
And they put
have
the
them.
girl puzzle. That's very weird.
Yeah, and they opened a competition for an artist to make this face.
Well, and you know the reason they did the face was that he was like, I'm not going to put the AirPods on the statue. He's like, she's just getting a face.
She invented the AirPods.
Wow.
Way ahead of its time. Here's a rendering of the island of what the rest of the exhibit looks like. I
it
guess.
is a crack.
Yeah. It's just, I don't understand why.
With the big silver balls down the middle. And
Nellie Bly's at the center of it. So she's the most important, I guess. I don't know. But this was in 2019 and it got installed in 2021.
Okay.
So very new addition. I think they're all like significant, or maybe it's from the National Women's Hall of Fame put it on or something. I'm not sure. She also won a journalism award in 2020. And then there was a play about her in 1946. So she's a big legacy of an impact that she made for everything that she did in journalism in a time when women didn't even get to use their real name in journalism.
yeah.
And honestly, she did some cool stuff.
Infiltrated an insane asylum.
Yeah. convinced them she was crazy. Traveled the world. Invented a milk can. I mean,
What more could
life.
you ask for in the 1800s?
I don't know if there was much more to ask for in the 1800s.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. But didn't survive the war.
That's the thing about the sea. Sooner or later,
It always gets you.
it always wins. She's spent her rest of her life haunted by that sea girl.
She just heard her every night.
Nellie. Lose. And now they have an eternal fiddle off between the two of them. Hey, you made it to the end of the episode. You're probably asleep right now because you let it keep playing. But if you aren't asleep, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get more videos. And also, if you can't wait for more, we've got plenty of other episodes and highlight clips, just some of our funniest parts, the things we enjoy the most. This show is an absolute blast, and I cannot thank you enough for being here.